Welcome
to the Bring Me to Life podcast
It's time to wake up.
and shine on.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bring Me to Life podcast. CeeLo can't keep me from laughing right now because he keeps breathing really hard into the microphone because he's really excited to talk about
You told me to take a
breath and quantum healing and the quantum realms because a couple of us fell into a deep portal about the quantum phenomenon that is happening right now.
Yeah, yesterday during the event, I heard word of quantum entanglement or whatever, and that got you really going. Yeah, and I think it's fascinating, all very fascinating. Did you mean to kick me? Did I say something wrong?
I didn't kick you. I moved my chair.
Oh, I think you. I was like, oh no, I'm saying something wrong. But quantum physics, quantum mechanics is quite interesting.
Maybe you felt me in a different realm.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Time lag or something, But we've watched quite a lot of shows and stuff that has dealt with time travel, multiverse, multiple realities.
Things like Loki and
Loki
Doctor Strange and all of those kinds of things. But in a different point of view, I think that the quantum phenomenon, it's interesting now to just hear like random folks talking about quantum anything.
Right. Like school teachers.
Yeah, on like a science level and like day-to-day conversation. I remember a few years ago when I got really into quantum healing and Dolores Cannon and the understanding of, altering our realities and that kind of thing. And I've been really getting into the Mind Valley practices, and they do a lot of different like quantum jumps and just like for some people, I feel like they still categorize it in this like woo sense, that it's just this like thing that people who meditate think they're going into this like special realm. But like there is some science to it. We basically already exist in a quantum reality because the quantum realm, it's the discussion around subatomic particles and the way that they build all the blocks of matter that make up everything that we're experiencing.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask, or I'm gonna kind of describe what I think you're saying.
Okay.
So all matter is made up of atoms, and it looks physical to us, and it feels physical to us, and like this table is very hard, and I can't put my hand through it.
Mm-hmm.
But in actuality, atoms are just mostly space, and like our bodies are mostly space. All the material items around us, this entire physical world, is made up of atoms, which are like 99.9% space. It's like, how am I standing on top of this right now? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what you were kind of like describing?
Sort of. I'm not going to claim to be a scientist here. I do it from more of a like spiritual and personal perspective. But yeah, like the things that we are experiencing, they're made of atoms, and generally like we create the reality that we're in by witnessing it as the structures that we relate to, like an object. Like we know that we're speaking into a microphone, and we've created this image of what that microphone looks like. Just like there's those different scientific practices of like, all right, some people can really visualize an apple in their mind. They see the apple, they can see the shape it is, they can see the contour of it. They know it's got like this like not flat but like sort of round texture to it. They can see, the glare from the light of the apple. Maybe they associate apples with mostly red, or maybe someone has a favorite kind of apple. Maybe their favorite kind's green. So when you say apple,
I saw green.
Yeah, some people see green, but we're creating that reality in our mind by how we're witnessing it. Now, some people are like, well, you're not creating the fact that, something exists in some realm. Like, I don't know what, maybe some of my friends' homes look like. Maybe I've never been to their house, and they're like talking about this experience they had in we create a version of what we think they're talking about when they're sharing a story in our minds. But it might not actually be, what they experience. That being said, we each have our own quantum experience of what our realities are like. So if I share a story with you about my childhood, you weren't there to witness it. So you can only build, your reality's perspective of what that experience was by me explaining it to you. And I like to storytell, so I will explain things in very full detail.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
In hopes that somebody can visualize it with me, because that's how my mind works. That being said, we also perceive things from, our childhoods, our pasts, or even our futures, by putting these experiences in our mind in a way that we can, recall them or perceive them. And you talked about in one of our last episodes about time and how you thought it wasn't linear. Do you want to talk about that a little bit before I keep going down this rabbit hole?
Yeah. I was mentioning, I don't believe personally that time is a linear thing. And there are many reasons for why I believe that, but I can meditate and I can go back to experiences of, my past and kind of like relive them. And kind of feel like that's almost like a form of time traveling, is like going back into that past, and kind of reliving it and feeling all of that again. But there's this thing called the astral, I think it's like the astral cloud or the Akashic records.
The Akashic records, that's what I call it, yeah.
And that is a place of like a vibratory frequency that you can access, and held within there is like a bunch of data, basically. And the data is dreams and hopes and goals of the people and the thoughts and all those things. So being able to go to the Akashic records, you get access to this record of all these things that have happened. You can go back to that point in time, that point in space time.
Through different meditative practices, through the dream realms and things like that. Yeah, you can. And that's, I think that's where the concept of quantum healing really kind of comes into play, and why I got interested in it. So, I think if you go more into the science of the understanding of the quantum realm and going back to the concept that everything is made of subatomic particles, you were talking about how time isn't linear, so things can be all happening at once. I think we were talking or referencing, like, we were recording something on like a new moon, but we'll be releasing it later, and how you can capture the energy of that experience and send it out to people.
People can go back and listen to it, and they have like the energy of that.
Yeah, and I think what I wanted to talk about is why I kind of believe in this understanding of it, because quantum healing became this thing. If you hear a noise, our air conditioner just came on. Sila made a face. I don't know if you can actually hear it. But anyway, I'm going to keep going on my spiel. So why I think this is an important thing to understand as a creative is you can change your perspective or your way of thinking around whatever it is that you may be working through, whether it's a trauma or a block, a writer's block. You feel like you just aren't creative that day, or you're having a hard time forgiving yourself or a person, place, or thing for something that happened. And it's interesting to me because I personally had a lot of different hard times growing up, things that really could have taken me off my path and my focus as a creative, as an artist, as a speaker. And there's different moments in my life that I can remember thinking I should be much more upset than I am right now, or I should, I could be in a much different place. But I felt this sense of protection, healing. I often will talk about it as angels and different energy forms. And as we grow to understand these kind of quantum understandings in a way, I feel like, yes, there are these like spiritual energies that have protected me, but it's also things that I've learned in my future self and been able to send back. There's oftentimes
Like Harry Potter.
I was waiting for you to bring up Harry Potter. Yes, where he thinks it's his dad, but it's actually him all along.
What one was that?
I
The
think
Prisoner of Azkaban?
Yeah, he's like trying to protect the guy, and he like sends his own Patronus and thinks it's his dad. And I can relate to that because there's a lot of times I'll do meditations and they'll be like, let's hear a previous trauma, and they'll be like, visualize a time in your life that really, you know, sticks out to you as a painful moment. And though I do remember, you know, having a sense of understanding, like there are times that I've reflected on it and been like, wow, I was in a lot of physical pain or emotional pain, or I was experiencing and witnessing the death of a loved one. And I'll relive that through a grief process. But I do feel that I'm able to send some sort of energy back to little me and say, like, you're going to be okay. Like some days are rough as shit, but there's other days where it's like, I can tell that me here in the now is doing my best to set the previous me up for success. Does that mean that there weren't times that I completely ignored my intuition and I'm healed of everything? No, because it's going to take me years to reflect on and even remember, because there's a lot of stuff I've locked away. Everything that maybe is like holding a energetic spot in my body. But I think that that's where the understanding of we're all walking each other home kind of comes into play. That, you know, famous quote. And an idea is that we're holding space to witness each other kind of unravel what it is that made us us, and also program what it is we're going to be. And I've seen you consistently, you know, sit down with meditations or remind me to do different practices and to set ourselves up for not only our younger selves, but our future selves. And there's some different consistent meditations I've been listening to recently where it's like wanting us to tap into the visual of, you know, what we want our future selves to have and experience, and going even beyond receiving that and feeling like what that life feels like in it. So like the gratitude we have for having a space and a studio where we can spread out our equipment and like sit here and be present in the time. And I've been really trying to integrate more of that. And as I say it, it's not like it's something that we are super, you know, efficient at right now, but I do think it's something worth sharing with others, that the understanding of quantum healing is a wild thing. I experienced it some with my grandma, and yeah, I could keep going into some portal stories here.
Quantum healing, I feel like you were kind of mentioning that you sent love to your child self, like your younger self. And do you remember your younger self feeling that?
You know, I'm starting to unravel that, and I'm trying to bring clarity, because there's certain times that I do feel like it was more angelic beings. I don't know that I knew or would have related it to my future self. It just felt like an energy. But sometimes those energies felt different. So I think I'm still unraveling, because like there's moments I feel like I was connecting with what some people would call the Archangel Michael energy. But then there are times that I feel like maybe it was my own energy coming back to be like, you're going to make it. It's going to be okay. So it's a combination of both. Maybe it's that I'm now in a moment where I can meditate and send, you know, whatever loving energy is needed to go back to heal my inner child, and so on and so forth. And maybe sometimes it's me. Maybe sometimes I don't want to deal with me either, and I need some other like parental energy support or familiar energy support.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking how crazy it is to me to think about things like time loops, you know, because if you in the now quantumly send energy or love or whatever back to your younger self during a hard time, and you remember that as you are now, you're like, I remember that moment and I felt something, and like, wow, think about it now, like that was me. now it's like a time loop, because that younger self's gonna grow up and be the one who does that to that younger self, and it's like
It is kind of a
blows
time
my
loop.
mind. It's like that's a time loop right there.
Well, I think it's where I get a lot of my passion and drive from. Is people are like, how do you keep going? Like, especially if there's like a setback or something. And I know my aunt has a hard time wrapping her head around like the big vision picture that I have. And to a lot of people, I'll go on these like vision explanations of like what I hope to do in my life, and they just like can't wrap their heads around it, or like that's just like a lot. But I do feel like there's a future version of me that knows that all of that is possible and has like programmed and ingrained me with the spunk and the determination to keep going towards that. Like there's probably also a timeline where I'm homeless on the street with nothing. And, I could easily tap into that timeline. I've been in a momentum towards that in different chapters of my life where I didn't, tap into this timeline that knows that there's bigger, better, beautiful things to keep evolving, and that all of our hopes and dreams to continue to inspire others and have space for others are possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that time loop is the one that I can stay on, where we just keep moving towards it.
Yeah, I would say so. Because you're talking about it now, so
right,
it's gonna make an impact on you.
Yeah, and we've chosen that too. I think there's a matter of choosing it, and that goes back to the idea too of like we perceive our reality and like what we're capable of and what we want to accomplish.
I definitely often feel like our realities around us are a combination of our thoughts, our actions, and our belief systems. And we're all constantly working on it. But the whole like quantum entanglement thing is wild, because I think I'm not sure exactly what y'all were talking about with the quantum entanglement, but I thought I heard it mention like something about memory being affected by the quantum entanglement, and I don't know, stuff just blows my mind.
I think memories can be affected, and I think that's why it's important when there's like different forensic science and stuff involved too, and the people are trying to get different people's perspective of stories and stuff straight, and there's the he said, she said, they said perspective, and the hearsay perspective, and how just things get like stretched and evolved. And like if you hear someone's version of a story 6 people later, it's going to create a different form of a memory than what was actually created, but then it's going to, segue a timeline of that for you.
Yeah. Let's make it even more complicated and say that I feel like I've been like jumping timelines a little bit, because there's been things that I'm like, I know for sure I did this thing and it's not that way here. And then people are like, you did this thing, and I'm like, I know for sure I didn't do that thing. And my timeline jumping, like imagine we're all just like jumping timelines and stuff, and somebody remembered something from one timeline and then like added that to the telephone game, and it's like, ooh.
So there's a version of this theory. There's this guy on Mind Valley who I believe he passed away. He had like a long, well-lived life, and before he passed away, he released a course. I was trying to find his name here.
Was it quantum jumping?
It is quantum jumping. Oh man, why did the guy's name just completely leave me? Dang. Bert Goldman, that's his name. He explained the concept of doppelgangers, and we tap into our doppelganger selves. And he was coming at it from a perspective of he wanted to learn new things. And he believed that there was a version of him in different timelines in different realms that could say, be an expert at piano, or be an expert swimmer, or be an expert jogger or writer or whatever. And he would try to pick up new habits and meditate and channel himself into the version of him that was already a professional at whatever. Right. And he could channel that. But then as he did that, different people had different perspectives of him because he was tapping into those versions of himself.
Mm. Interesting. It's almost like Sensei, where you can like tap into that and then like draw on their skills and stuff. That's kind of wild to me. But like this whole quantum thing is really insane, and it's kind of funny to think about the school system working how it does without any knowledge or connection, or we don't know nothing about quantum anything in like schools
The
at
school
all.
system is made to program people into thinking they have to work 9 to 5 jobs or, reach some sort of test passing ability.
I heard somebody mention yesterday that maybe one of the big bankers, like JP Morgan or something, like did something to the school system or
Yeah, they changed the school system because they wanted to program people.
to work.
It might have been the Reagan, whatever. It was like
was that like Rockefeller?
something along those lines.
Yeah.
One of those big people in history
Yeah.
that frustrate the fuck out of many of us. They programmed society into thinking we had to be a certain way. So like you had to wake up, go to school from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. or whatever time you went to school. If you missed so many days, you got, docked points, just like in the work system. Like it's made to not create people who think for themselves.
Yep.
Sorry, I wanted to finish that sentence.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, that's what I was gonna say.
Okay. But yeah, so they did program us. You also heard one of our friends sharing about Montessori schools. Were you there for that part?
Kinda. I don't know where you're going with that though.
How there's this new way. You were saying how the school systems don't understand this like way of like reprogramming our minds and allowing our minds to explore, different concepts and abilities. What are you pointing at?
You said that.
You started taking us down the portal of how you said you didn't understand how schools were working.
Yeah, I started it and then you took over.
Okay. Well, what I was going to go with Montessori schools is they allowed the next generation or the new generation to explore how they experience things, which is what I was talking about with the subatomic particles and the way we perceive reality is through these different practices that they're introducing to like Montessori students is they have hands-on activity and can work through problems and different things of their interest so that they can program themselves and pick a timeline that works better for them rather than having to be on this like standardized schedule and expectation.
That's a better way than what I had to go through. Definitely wasn't made for me, that's for sure. So hopefully our school system will continue to evolve and find better ways to help everybody create a better world.
Yeah, it'd be really nice to be able to see the next generation understand how they can, better themselves and build their self-confidence and even work through their previous traumas. And I think the quantum realms the quantum realms, it's a silly kind of term because we are experiencing the quantum realm. There's not this like extra place. I know we've given names to other spaces and time, kind of like the Akashic records and things like that, where we allow ourselves to enter this state of mind. I think the Akashic records are kind of like a state of mind, really, where we meditate and we allow our soul to experience a different moment in time or series of memories or information.
But in Star Trek, there was an episode where a planet had a form of energy around it. And it's like, they must have got that from our reality.
I mean, I do think that different shows like Star Trek and Loki and stuff, they build off of these concepts in like super maximalist like forms.
If you want to get really technical, everything's an illusion anyway, so the whole reality around us is within us.
Yeah. I'm one of those people that questions everything in a lot of different ways until it shows itself to me. I don't know if you have the patience for me to share a quick story that I shared with some of our friends yesterday about something that made me believe that the quantum healing and like theta energy had some potency to it. Do I have the floor for just a second?
Yeah.
Cool. a lot of times when I get in this rant, people ask me for like some sort of proof, or they want to know the science behind it. And the best thing I can do is share from my personal experience. And one of the experiences I had is actually right when I first met Silo. My grandma was dying, and I've probably shared a version of this story on different podcasts, but I'll try to keep this one short and sweet. But my grandma had went into basically a coma and was unreachable. And my aunt was trying everything to, get her to be conscious again. And she was having a really hard time. So I went to one of my friends who was really into theta healing and like quantum energy and like meditation and psychic stuff. And I was looking for, some general signs that the stuff was, more than just some sort of placebo in my mind, and that it was just there to make me feel better, to make up something. So during the connection with her, she had me sit down with her, and I had a purple amethyst in my hand, and I meditated, and she walked me through what she would call a quantum healing or a theta healing, and visualized us taking this purple amethyst or this purple light and meeting my grandmother in the spiritual realms where she may have been during her coma, something out of this body. And we walked her energy up what we visualized as stairs to like a golden light kind of door, like a heavenly gate kind of door. I wasn't sure at the time if my grandma wanted to keep fighting to live or if she was ready to, transition. And I was really sad and scared. But in this moment, we, asked her spirit to give us a sign and show us that. And through the meditation, she kind of just chose that she wanted to still be present with us. And I remember my aunt calling me and being like, "What did you do? Your grandmother just woke up. She said that she saw you with a purple light and that she is grateful she's still here." So there was like a experience of that. There's some more details to it, but I don't want to take up too much time. But the basic of that is that she was able to feel that experience. And that was something that really sticks with me and gives me some sort of belief and proof around that, through time and space, we can reach others and work with others and help heal each other. And that's, I think, how we build these stories and perspectives up of each other. And sometimes we lose sight of that, and it's hard to reprogram ourselves and to allow space for people to change. But it's really important, I think, to the evolution. And I do kind of wish that those were the things that more people were taught how to hold space and to focus on their reality so that their creativity could flourish and they could, create systems around evolution and caring for one another rather than the destruction and chaos we have happening in the world right now.
Indeed. That is a very powerful story about your Grammy. And I wish that, people, and I think it is happening. Schools are starting to learn more about meditation and all this stuff. So who knows what's going to happen as we get older, but I'm grateful to be here.
I am too. And I think why it was important for us to, dive into this conversation today was I wanted to hold space for others to make a opinion of their own. And if they wanted to research it, there are a lot of meditations and practices. And I feel like we even have some. You probably have some on your Insight Timer.
For what?
Practices where you walk people into visualizing the life that they want, or the creative practice they want, or the dream spaces they want. You have so many.
Most of mine are visualization meditations. Yeah. I do cover quite a lot of creativity and abundance and visualizing your dream life. And your dream clients and all these different things. And I think it's important for creatives. I think you have that one, don't you? I do have one, but I think you do too. I don't have a dream client one. Okay, I have a dream client one. Yeah. But visualizing the people you want to work with, the projects you want to create, the support you want to call in, the book you want to write, how many books you want to sell, or the people you want to meet, and all those things. And take time to heal anything that you may be holding you back. Maybe somebody told you weren't good at something and it really stopped you. Visualize yourself going back and, responding to that differently, integrating it differently. Joe Dispenza also talks a lot about the quantum and healing and creating a life that feels good to you. He's one of my mentors. not personally, obviously, but I just kind of like look up to some of his work and what he's done and his meditations and how he helps people to heal and connects a lot with the quantum. He's also a more spiritual science type of person where he connects the two a lot. He does a lot of experiments and studies, which are really powerful. So highly suggest him. And the quantum is quite a fascinating topic. So being able to share information about the quantum along with healing and all that is very powerful. So please check out Shannon Shine. Check out Selomon if you haven't heard of Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Highly suggest you check him out as well.
Yeah. I feel like there's a bunch of people like Dolores Cannon and what was the guy? I just remembered his name. Bert Goldman, I think was his name.
Bert Goldman.
And different people like that have. Louise Hay, I think, talked about it.
Louise Hay is great.
Even Lisa Nichols talks about it sometimes, where she's like visualizing herself as like the most powerful speaker that she can be and things like that. So
it's becoming more, I think, accessible to our minds. I think that's one way you can kind of see how humanity is kind of evolved a little bit is we're all able, a lot of us are able to start thinking about this kind of stuff. Quantum mechanics and physics and like the Bernstein effect, all of us are starting to kind of awaken to
the butterfly
that.
effect and the
butterfly
timelines
effect
and stuff.
It's becoming more of a widely accepted phenomenon rather than just, oh, you're crazy.
Yeah, and we just like hear about it. I mean, the government released those records of us being like a hologram and a dream and like astral traveling and like all those things being possible. I feel like they're trying to like leak the information, but there's so many people.
Not too much.
Yeah, not too much, but there's so many people that are just like, oh, like that's still a conspiracy theory, even though they're like putting things out in front of us, and like there's not enough people interested just yet, but it's building.
It's happening.
It's
slowly,
happening.
Slowly but surely. So share this with a friend or anybody you think would, be open to it.
Yeah, but again, we're not scientists. We're just figuring it out as we go.
I'm a scientist. I am totally a scientist. I do experiments all the time.
We did just finish watching Young Sheldon, so now we are, channeling that energy. It was a sad show. I loved it though. But yeah, good stuff. All right. Until next time.
Stay awake.
Shine on always.